And we are live on Periscope and Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. What's up, John?
Hi, Joe. How are you?
It's Friday. It's 4:30. I've got a Elosa hard kombucha, berry ginger going up.
Wow, that is a very modern drink of yours. There, I'm drinking wine, white wine,
Well,
and it's very good. It's from Cambria. It's from Cambria, from the Central Coast, one of my favorite places. So
beautiful.
I'm having a great four. Actually, it looks like 4:32, even though it says it's 4:20 on Friday. It's a really good 4:32.
Yeah.
Very
well,
cool.
What do you want to start with? You want to start with State of the Union on stocks and the insanity that's going on? Do you want to start with an obscure altcoin? Do you want to start with Bitcoin?
It's been, the stocks are interesting. It's been quite the week, especially with like DeFi, different exchange protocols. We've actually been seeing quite a different kind of a market than we've seen. Like DeFi just absolutely pumped this week. Like it's been crazy. Bitcoin, I mean, we were chatting with multiple people yesterday. It's boring. There's not a lot going on. It goes up, it goes down. The social activity is flat, trying to find its way. We did see it spike up a little bit yesterday, but overall, we actually even saw Litecoin. I was getting a little excited last night and this morning, seeing that Litecoin starting to move a little bit. You even saw XRP start to move a little bit. So you saw your core major large cap coins actually moving for the first time in a little bit. And then it cooled down a little bit. So it feels like the large caps are trying to find their way. I'd say with the exception of Chainlink. Chainlink, just what an amazing move it had this week. It did come back a little bit, but it still looks strong. But Bitcoin in general is, again, it feels like it's like watching paint dry a little bit this whole week, while some of the alts are just going bananas. So especially DeFi.
This is on the 1 week, looking at like Ethereum, which is even basically for the week, and then Chainlink, which is up, which is kind of crazy even after that little pullback. And then what is Bitcoin? BTC. I know where it's at, but basically on the 1 week, I guess it's only down 1.5%. I forgot that it was at the beginning of the week. We did have that kind of push up towards the middle of the week, and that's where that kind of, I think it felt worse than it actually was.
Yeah, and yesterday I think it was we saw social engagement break out a little bit. So people are definitely trying to talk. They're talking more about it. I'm sure if we dove in, we'd probably see that they're talking about how boring things are. But yesterday we did get a spike up a little bit to the highest point in about 3 or 4 weeks. So we did see there's definitely a little more activity trying to break out. But there is not a lot going on. So that could be a good thing. We'll see. If I go back to all the years we've been in crypto, it feels like it always moves when it's like you're not watching on Sunday mornings, when things seem boring, when and then something happens. So it's not hi Alon. It's not like you have to be in the game because you don't know what's going to happen next, but there is not really quite the trend going on right now. That's just what we keep saying.
Yeah. I was just looking at, like, we were talking to DeFi, like lending coins, which is Celsius, and then Aave, which they were on, blockchain and Boost this week, and looking at, I think it was the 3 month. Yeah, I mean, look at what it's done on the 3 month. Look at these.
Yeah, I mean, if Celsius, what's just totally crazy, and I think I said this on our last live stream here, but like, we thought we had a bug with collection, because we're like, are we picking up just generic words like Celsius? Like, what's going on? And we did a seriously deep dive into the collection, looking at every single post, and no, we didn't. And the reason I say that is because on the 3 months, like I'm pulling it up too, but like on a 3 month for Celsius, you're talking about Social activity has gone up over 1,000% in the last 3 months. So, you know, an engagement a little less, but 324%. Social contributors, meaning the individuals posting, also almost up 1,000% in 3 months.
Yeah,
And you know, you mentioned
years.
Sure. I mean, I'm going to look at Aave, and I'm going to look at those 3 months as well. And actually, let me go 1 month on this one because it really started to move. But like, you know, 131% increase in social volume, 365% increase in social engagement. I mean, you go back on some of these things. Let's look at the contributors, the individuals. And you just see, I mean, the last like 2-3 months have been just nutty. I mean, we got 14,500 total contributors, but the majority of that's happened over the last 2 months. So the DeFi space has been just absolutely on fire. I mean, and I won't even get into price. Congratulations if you've been holding these, but it's really quite insane when you actually have this environment where Bitcoin is funny. Bitcoin's more stable than the DeFi projects, not moving much, and we have these projects going crazy. And we kind of had these cycles too, like I remember going back a few months, it's almost like there's these waves going on. We had like Digibyte going crazy, was up, I think, about 500-600%. And then we had Zilliqa up like 600+%. And those kind of cooled down. And then we moved into this DeFi space now. And we also look at things like, I had Loopring up here earlier, but you look at something like a Loopring, which it helps build like decentralized exchanges. Its protocol, and you look at some of these, and these are growing crazy too. So social volume, almost 44,000 post mentions in the last year. And so, I mean, you're talking about, you know, let's just pick a random day. You go October 4th, you had 19 posts, and let's take the high here, 1,134 post mentions. So really, really big growth. I mean, we take 0x, which is another one, and you look at their contributors that have grown from like daily contributors, you're talking in the low teens, basically 10, 20. And on take like a high day here, you start to get into 844 individuals posting in a day. And so, and if you just take the bottom channel of that, it's just a nice, beautiful trend upwards. Mm-hmm. And same with Kyber, which is another really interesting one, where you've got, you know, their social volume, 82,000 posts over the last 6 months that you've had. I mean, it's 235% higher versus the 6 months before. So there's definite growth on some of these projects, which, you know, back to the Bitcoin side of things, if we look at the contributor growth on 6 months, you know, we've had some spikes in here. I like to point out this was a Cash App tweet, and this was the halving. And roughly, I mean, going back here, it's grown, but you're talking 76,000 posts, and now we have 120,000 posts. So it's growing, just not at the same rate, but it is a much higher rate.
It's also kind of interesting, especially with, you know, when you think about Cash App, and it's like, you know, I know they reported in like, I think it was Q1, it was like $325 million in profit off of the Bitcoin transactions happening within the app. And it's insane to see that. And that's a huge deal. They're a huge buyer of Bitcoin. And then there's an announcement, you know, from PayPal, you know, and Venmo that, you know, they're going to start adding, and it's like, it did nothing. I mean, I'm just looking at the contributors here, and I'm looking at the price, and it's like, you know, Bitcoin's reacting to what's being said on CNBC, and it's not reacting to the underlying metrics of what's happening within the space. And it's a super interesting thing that is much different than I think where it was, you know, even a year ago. And it's like Bitcoin is like perfectly correlated, you know, especially in the last 3 months. I mean, it's outperformed slightly, but it's a long ways away from the, you know, systematic like hedge against like macro environment narrative that a lot of people, I think, were pushing heavily in Q3 and Q4 of last year.
Most definitely. It's interesting because everyone talked about building, you know, an exchange traded fund or mass adoption, and they thought a lot of it was latching onto the existing financial tools that were out there. And then you go on crypto Twitter over the last week when that PayPal news hit, and more often than not, people are posting, I just was trying to get away from this. I don't want to use this. Don't use PayPal. So there's a lot of almost, there's a sentiment against it and there's a sentiment for it. And so it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out and if they'll build tools that have, the proper UX. That's another fun thing. I hope that they build tools that actually don't already exist, that it's something totally different. Something that maybe if we're talking about a mainstream tool like PayPal, it isn't just a regurgitation of the same stuff. I hope they actually think a little bit outside the box, bringing something new to a larger audience.
I don't know. I hope for that as well, but I feel like they're getting in now because there still are, transaction fees and they can still make money on it, because I think just like all the regular brokerages went to zero, trading fees, 0%, $0. I feel like crypto will be pushed there, and it's like, they're like, shit, we want to get in while we can still make, $800 million to $1.2 billion a year off this.
Yeah, most definitely. Right. They're not doing it for fun.
Yeah.
So another one that I had open here from earlier, which we posted earlier today, which was reserve rights. Actually, we posted a couple times about this on our Twitter this week. Really going crazy. I mean, this is basically, it's kind of a dual token system. Like they've got a stable coin that's sort of a diversified basket of other stable coins as well. Really interesting what they're doing. And then they've got reserve rights, which is sort of their token that lets you have rights to purchase some more tokens in the future, and you have different voting rights and that sort of thing. But we've seen it go crazy this week. I mean, this is just 1 week. We're 0.006, and we started the week at 0.0045. So really big move this week. I mean, if we go back even 3 months, and we're talking a big giant move, and the social activity has just absolutely gone crazy. I mean, if we go 3 months ago, we're talking about 125 posts a day, which that's post mentions. So that's not their post that's coming from their one social account. And that's across lots of different sources. But we're talking about going from that to, I'd call that close to parabolic move, 1,429 posts, which that's on a close. And let's see, today was a new high, 1,496 posts. So this is moving big time. And we're seeing, even if I look over time, let's look at the 1 week on this. And you can see it's kind of weakening just a little bit right now, but this is like, for a coin to be this long with this low of an alt rank means that not only price is firing, but social activity is just ridiculous. It's really high. So, and it's relatively really high. So we're seeing how it fell off here actually before the price started moving even significantly here, and it just stayed down, which is a really big deal. And for those of you that don't know listening to this, alt rank is really a combined thing. That's what we show on the side here, where it's looking at its volume rank. So we rank how is it relative to other coins. We look at the price change over 24 hours. We look at social, we call it a social score, which is really social engagement. That's your retweets, your comments. If it's Reddit, it's like your karma score, your upvotes. It's the quality of that engagement. And then we also look at the social volume. So relatively speaking, relative to Bitcoin. So it infers that this coin's beating Bitcoin in price performance. And so we look at that all, and we actually update it every single minute. And so again, for this to update every single minute and be this low for this long speaks volumes, just in terms of how strong this coin has been this week. And again, not just from a price perspective, but from a community side.
So it looks like about a 46% move this week. Well, if you guys are still listening, I think John froze up on us. We'll give him like a minute to come back here before we have to add him again. Are you back, John?
Was I gone? Can you hear me?
You did like about just a 20-second removal. We'll see if we can get him back here. There you go. Can you hear me, John?
Hi, Joe.
All right.
Was I gone?
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, okay.
Like it's a fire behind you. It's just the smoke is just getting into the camera, and then
it's taking all the bandwidth, man. That's 4K right there. Maybe I should turn the fire off.
Yeah, well, it's kind of fun. I mean, looking at reserve rights, and I'm just trying to look at like just kind of looking against something, like just in the last week against Bitcoin. Let's see if I have to reload. But I mean, that's like the last month. Looking at Galaxy Score here. So just to give everyone a little refresher on what Galaxy Score is. So when we look at Galaxy Score, we're looking at a lot of the similar things that we're looking at with AltRank, with social volume and sentiment analysis. And, we're looking at some technicals on price. So we're looking at things like, moving averages and exponential moving averages and MACD. And so we kind of put all that together. But unlike AltRank, where AltRank is looking at the rest of the marketplace, and then it's kind of saying, is this coin beating Bitcoin, or is it beating, the rest of the market? With Galaxy Score, it's actually just looking at that coin against its own volume from itself. So it's like Bitcoin only against Bitcoin's metrics. So you're kind of, if it's more, day trading, or if you're kind of, potentially swing trading, and it's still changing very rapidly, but if you want to know and you're trading one coin and you want to say like, is social volume sinking, is price sinking very rapidly, then Galaxy Score is where you're going to go to kind of figure that out for the coin against itself. Now, if you're looking for coins that are, maybe outperforming the market in general, and you're not trying to kind of sway one swing trade on one coin, then that's more of an alt-rank type thing. And you want that alt-rank, that momentum to be moving towards one, rank 1 to, I think we're holding now 2,050-ish coins or so. So you want it to be number 1, where Galaxy Score is just 0 to 100. And so very rarely, I don't even know if I've ever seen some of the big ones fall under 40 in Galaxy Score. And like very rarely do they get like above like a 90. So it's like, that's kind of your range of where it's at. If stuff is falling super low, it means that it's just, you want to get out of there. So
I'll tell
another
you
thing is we do.
Go ahead, Joe. I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah. I just want to say, because sometimes we forget to say this, is that like we do give an alt rank to Bitcoin as well. We're not, we're kind of showing it on the coin detail page, but it is included in the ranking of alt rank. And so if Bitcoin has the number 1 alt rank, that means that Bitcoin's kicking ass, and you probably, should be looking at that.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions around like, you guys measure social media, so what? Real world usage is what drives price on these coins. And the reality is that couldn't be further from the truth. Yes, real world usage drives price, but without a community, no one's gonna buy it. No one's gonna talk about it. Nothing's gonna happen. This is a conversation for a conference, to be quite honest. But when you think about a lot of the trends that we end up seeing, like if you see, more often than not, you see an alt rank move way up, and you see it move way up ahead of price. And all that is that's the community talking about it. That doesn't necessarily mean real world usage right there. It means that people are talking about it. And when we see that happen, we see it happen a lot before the price moves. And so, yeah, the Chili's is a good example. Zilliqa is a good example. There's a lot of scenarios in which, like when Zilliqa has, when Chili's has like FC Barcelona tweeting about them, it goes crazy. And you've seen this thing hit like pretty much, fall way before the price moves around. Like move out to like a 3 month on that one, or even 6.
It's a 3 month on contributors.
Yeah, so I mean it's going up, but go to alt rank. And so, I mean, you could go back to the first spike. It fell before the first spike. It fell before the second spike quite a lot. And so it took quite a bit of it's a newer coin, so it took a lot of chop, but there's definitely a lot of
yeah, I think we talk about it a lot where it's like, I think people need to understand some of this stuff, like it's like the number of wallets almost. And it's like, well, if there's more wallets and there's more coins in those wallets, that means that there's some traction, and that means that there's investors, which is super important. And then, from our perspective, it's like, well, are these people talking about these projects? Are they excited? And how many people are talking about it? And it kind of goes back to when we first started investing, is like, you're looking at some of these things and you're saying, well, I saw a really good write-up in this, this subreddit about, this specific coin. And I think that the team is awesome. And I think what they're doing is going to be huge. And, I think it's, better than Bitcoin or whatever you want to say. But then it's like, well, that was just one post, on that one subreddit. And I think that that was a good perspective. But is that as important as, is that one person, that one perspective, is that a buyer? And then as there's more contributors and there's more people talking about these things, it's a good way to understand and denote traction and denote audience. And, until you're looking at all of these factors together, that's how you're making these good investments. And I think it's that. And then for a longer term, kind of someone that's going to hold. And then from a perspective of social engagement, I mean, thinking back to some of the social engagement spikes that we've seen, especially on some of these like mid-sized projects, I mean, you're seeing a huge social engagement spike, and there's news out there that you need to be on top of. And, if you're not listening to the entire internet at the same time, you are not going to beat that out. And so it's important to be out there and listen to everything, or you're gonna miss, some of these good opportunities.
Well, most definitely, man. And when one of the things we look at is we measure what we call correlation rank. And so that looks at, in general, it's looking at how correlated is that social activity to the price moves. I mean, we talked about Celsius. I mean, right now, let me actually show, if you could switch to my screen, I'll show you. And this is the 1 day. We can see that right now, this moment, it's a 4.3 out of 5, meaning social activity heavily correlates to price. And so if it didn't, you'd see it way down here, 1, 0, close to 0. It would be nothing. And so we just see continuously, and this is just today alone, every single hour, these are hourly buckets. 4.2, 4.3, the lowest we've fallen was here earlier today at 2.5. So it's almost like neutral. So we're talking about neutral to very. And, when you look at this stuff over time and you start to see just really that activity is correlated, and you also see that volume, let's go back to social volume, and you start to look at the 6-month volume on Celsius, and you see that we've had social activity. I mean, if you were paying attention down here, price was 7 cents, and now it's 37 cents. And so at a minimum, it may be less about, it could be about day trading, or it could be about more longer term or swing trading even over time. Like, hey, you should probably take a look at this one because something's unusual. And you would have seen that way back here in April. And something was certainly unusual then. And I'd love to pick at Zilliqa, because this was really clear. We started to see some of this activity, and this is so big. What you're not noticing is it's just out of the scale. Like this right here in March, when price was 0.003 cents before it popped up to like 0.17. You had, this was actually a huge move back in here, and we were posting all about it, and we found it. And these spikes here where they launched social pay. And so again, all of this ahead of this massive spike. And so, was I using Zilliqa? No. Could I have bought it back then? That's a different like scenario.
Right.
Like I could buy Loopring. It doesn't mean I'm building a decentralized exchange or even participating in one. I might buy it as an investment because I heard someone talk about it. And so a lot of people started hearing about Zilliqa right in here, and they were holding and they were buying all the way up. And you actually see, it's not always like a bed of roses here. You've got sometimes things consolidate, they come back. This is a massive move. And so what we've seen, social activity seems to take that same slope. Let's take just the number of people talking about it. It's taken a similar slope. It doesn't mean it's going to fall off a cliff. It just means it's finding its bottom, it's finding its top, it's trying to figure things out. Overall, when you still look here, you have 903 contributors. Let's go back. We had 28 just a little bit ago here at the end of the year, last year. So this is still even way down here because these moves are so big, up to almost 15,000 people in a day. You start to have these just like gyrations in trying to figure out where's the top, where's the bottom.
Right.
But overall, you have way more people talking about it.
Yeah, they've done a really good job. I like seeing like the people like Reserve Rights. I like seeing some of the newer projects come on board, and because it's like, people always ask, they're like, well, most of cryptocurrencies are just going to go away. Like, they're all shit, shit coins or scams or whatnot. And it's like, well, sure. Like most startups fail, 99.9% of them fail. So it's like, that is true. But I think that there are a million other like ways that the double spend problem can be applied to finance and to, logistics. And so it's like, I believe there's going to be more, there's going to be more cryptocurrencies in the future than there are today. I don't believe that all of the ones that exist today will exist into the future, but there will definitely be more. And it's just fun to see, the new, like DeFi is huge, and that's kind of, I think that's kind of overtaking everything right now. But it's just, it's the same, it's the same thing that's trying to be solved. It's just, this is the next phase of it. There's no change in, it's just a different application of what people are using the same technology for. And this is what we all said along it was going to be. And eventually it's going to be, you're not going to know what's powering your 7% APR. You might not know what's powering, a 12% APR, but, you're sure as shit not going to go with like the Goldman Sachs Marcus savings account at 1.55% because, you're just going to get, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, or I'm pretty sure Alon is listening, who just messaged us here, and I think he had posted a little bit ago that Wells Fargo was giving out a 0.05% interest rate, I think, on your checking or your savings account. I can't remember, but 0.05%. So yeah, just throw all your money in there. That sounds like a really great idea.
Right. Yeah, and people just got to be careful with the money printing right now, and they got to understand that, inflation pushes stock prices up, right? Like the only thing that you don't want to hold inflation is really fiat. Right. It's like, that's the one thing. So it's like corporations are worth more. And I think it's confusing right now to a lot of people to see what's happening with the stock market. I mean, not in the last couple of days, but it's, it's the way that there is 0.05%, but it's the way that, money works.
Right. Yeah. 0.05. Nice.
I love it.
Should we bring Alon on to talk about his 0.05%?
Yeah, let's go shill the Wells Fargo savings accounts. Which honestly, I do think like the banks are missing out right now if they wanted to participate or somehow get involved. It's like, you already have a checking and a savings account. Like, do what PayPal is doing. Literally just put buy Bitcoin right underneath that. Obviously, the Cash App has proven that there's $300 million a quarter up for grabs, like at least. So it's like, why wouldn't you go after that? Like, I just don't understand why they wouldn't go after that. But, if they start, if you can't beat them, join them. I think they're fighting it because it's like once they start to agree, then they realize that, maybe it's time that they start to really get beat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are you drinking, Joe?
I'm almost done with the hard kombucha, the Alosa.
Wow. That's
hey,
amazing.
It's Friday, 5:00 in Southern California. We still got, 3.5 hours of sunlight today. So we're excited about that. But
well, I've had enough sunlight. I was in Palm Springs. It was hot.
Yeah, you got to get out of that heat. You got to get out of the heat.
Yeah, it was 116. It was a little much.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, this was fun.
All right.
Everyone, thank you. We did 30 minutes. We're going to keep it at least to 30. We're going to try to make them a little bit longer. This one we did a little impromptu Friday afternoon, but we wanted to keep it going each week. So I appreciate everyone hopping in here. Give us a like on Twitter. We're doing the hat giveaway. Oh, that's what I wanted to show. I don't know if I've got the hat. Let's see if I've got it. Oh, no, I don't have it. You can see it on our Twitter. We're going to give away some hats and some stickers. Got the new stickers coming in right here. Bullish.
And you forgot $100 in Bitcoin every time we get another 1,000 followers. So far we've given one away.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thanks, John.